We want that certainty. And so even when people go on vacation, they have everything planned out. Oh, then we're going to go see this. And then every single moment, you're just expecting what's coming next. Taking control of your life and knowing that you can just be proactive about, oh, here's this cool thing. Let's go over there. What that is it's freedom of mind, and freedom of mind is agency.
If you don't have any contrasting experiences, 2 hours can feel like no time at all. Longevity is something that everyone would like, but it's also like, is it the years or how long you perceive time? Because if you're spending all your time in the same environment, doing the same things, years are just gonna go by. Recently, we went on a really, really fun bike ride. And I bring this up specifically because pretty much every single time we went on a bike ride before that, it was just like 15 minutes of bike riding, 15 to 30 minutes, where we literally just bike down our little street and then turn right onto the trail and then bike down it for a little bit to the bridge.
The only bridge in existence, which is why we refer to it as the bridge.
Yeah, and it was like very short amount of time. And the thing was, it was the same exact thing every single time. And so this was basically my idea of bike riding. Like that, when I thought of it, I just imagined myself riding to the bridge. That was it. Until we went on the trail, but we kept going. And we went for so long. I think we biked like 9 miles out, right?
Like eight-ish miles out, and then we had to come back. So.
Yeah. But it was such a transformative experience because I didn't realize how far you could go with a bike. And when I got back, it was like amazing. And I would classify it as an adventure because I never really done anything like that before.
Broke your conception of a bike ride.
Yeah, it just
something totally new.
Because here's the thing. I didn't realize how much you see, because before then it was either like walking or driving, right? And when you drive, you get in the car and then you show up somewhere completely different. But you don't really get to see.
That's also something in the book, the Zen Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and he was talking about how on a motorcycle you're actually experiencing the travel,
right?
Whereas in a car it's like the same as a movie. It's just like
things
going past you on
a lot of the time on the highway. It's just the same trees, you know. It was just really, really cool to actually be able to experience that much scenery,
right,
in just, you know, a bike ride.
Well, it was funny because we kept having like, oh my god, this park, we should have a picnic here. Oh my gosh, a stream. And then we were like freaking out, oh, a waterfall.
I didn't realize you could see all that in a bike ride. I didn't know it was so close to our house. So anyway, all that to say, that was a really amazing experience for me. When you have a really amazing experience, it's usually going to change your perception. It's going to transform something about how you think about something. In this case, it was how much was actually around me and how much was in the place that I lived that I'd never actually seen before. And also how much you could just see while riding on your bike. And I think, like, I definitely spend a lot of time at home. Like, I really like just sitting in my room and like making stuff and being
peaceful and serene,
and peaceful and serene. And you know, you
can put a picture of your bathroom as an example of
peaceful
serenity.
Peaceful serenity, and just like reading my book, working on my stuff. It's very romanticized in my mind, you know? And I really like that. I think one of my favorite YouTubers, Chris Yu, she has a podcast. And one of the podcasts is Why I Love My Boring, Beautiful Life. And I really resonated with that because she's also more of like a homebody. But I think this kind of like adventure is something that kind of opened my eyes a bit more. I think it's really important to be able to add that in to like expand your view of the world.
Right.
Because if you're just doing, like, even if you're not spending a lot of time at home, still, if you're just doing the same thing every day, then that's still the same effect. It's still the same kind of, over and over. There's nothing new.
And I think that there's part of this, like, conception of, like, people will say, oh, like, take a new route to work, and this is good for, like, brain health, and, like, will help you prevent Alzheimer's and that sort of stuff. And I think that it's, like, yeah, like, there's definitely those sorts of benefits. But in terms of understanding, like, how it can be more transformative in terms of perception and the broader sort of purpose of, like, why it's not like, oh, I'm going on a bike ride to prevent Alzheimer's, it's like that's an interesting way of framing it, but it's not necessarily the most motivating, and it's not necessarily.
And also, like, not all things are going to have the same effect.
Right.
Like, I thought I had seen a decent amount of stuff, and I went on adventures because, we will go out and we'll see new places, and one example is I love Harry Potter, like an insane amount. And I'm always listening to the audiobooks on repeat. It's part of my, going back to the serene room experience. Right. It's just part of my, relaxed state. And we went to the UK and we went to the Harry Potter studio tour. Yeah. And, it was cool. But it actually, in terms of the effect that it had on me, it actually had, like, maybe 10% of the effect that the bike ride had on me. Right. That's, like, literally so close to our house in comparison. Yeah. I just hop on my bike and go. Like, that's the difference. I think I think that illustrates the point that not just a new experience is not always going to be an amazing experience that actually is going to have an effect on you.
And I think this also relates to what we've discussed in terms of the conscious-subconscious dichotomy, where I know that definitely for me, when I was in a point where it was so, like, utility focused and so, like, routine and productivity focused, which is oftentimes what, is emphasized in our work and just in our life, of just, like, we're gonna even pleasure is, like, viewed as through a frame of utility in terms of, like, oh, and then you get to do this vacation, and it's like
you work and work and work and make money so you can go off and feel happy, and what the bike ride illustrated for me. I'm putting so much emphasis on the bike ride. I know this is something, like, a lot of people do all the time. It's like, great, you went on a bike ride. But I think it was really cool just because how close it was to the house and how much I could see, and that it didn't cost anything. One thing is, if you don't have any contrasting experiences, 2 hours can feel like no time at all. I think longevity is something that, everyone would like. and something that, the idea of death is very scary to me, and I want to live a long life. But it's also like, is it the years or how long you perceive time? Because if you're spending all your time in the same environment, doing the same things, it's not going to feel very long at all. Yeah. And you're not going to be having, I love my time at home. I love my time spending time with myself and, like, doing all the things that I find relaxing. Yeah. But if you don't have something that's contrasting in there, it's not going to feel very long, and years are just going to go by.
And that's why I think part of it, in terms of the conscious emphasis, is that it can seem like, what is the point? I'm just perceiving the same thing in a different place. Right. And I just have the same perception, and, well, I could just be using this time to get something done. And that's definitely the place where I was in, where it was like, even if we did, like, go out, it, like, wasn't having an impact on my perception. Yeah. And I think it's not really about, like, necessarily even what you do, but it is so much of your perception. And I think that part of it is understanding, like, the way that, as you're saying, about how much you perceive time. If it's just a conscious focus, time goes by a lot faster because you're not actually having the emotional, like, more visceral side of, like, that's what makes things feel, like, full, makes a moment feel a lot longer oftentimes, and a lot more meaningful.
Learning, growing your perception in ways that can be very simple, because it doesn't have to be a big thing. I think it's about engaging with the world around you versus going somewhere to just like see. Like, if I were to go and see the Mona Lisa, if I could just like teleport there right now, it wouldn't have much of an effect on me, even though I know it's like so famous and so great, and like so many people go there to view it every day. But I'd just be looking at it, and it's some paint on a canvas in that moment. It's just paint on a canvas, right?
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't have much of an effect on me. Here's the thing, though. Say going like rock climbing or something with a rope. Obviously, with a harness. Don't want to die, but like seeing the ground that far away from you and actually like trying to climb up a wall, like that's an experience like that's physically taxing, that you're trying to do something physically that I think would actually have more of an effect on me. But for someone who does that all the time, that's not going to have more of an effect on them. But just seeing the world from a different angle, I think a lot of people they'll in terms of like going to vacations, or it's all about seeing something versus actually experiencing something.
When it comes to what we were doing with the bike ride, it was us being able to just control, like, we're going to just be free in terms of just let's just keep going, you know. And that's something where if we were to do it again, we kind of already know like the where we went and how, you know, far it is and how tired it's going to be, you know, and we kind of have that all mapped out in our perception. And I think that part of what it is that it kind of just depends on the mindset that you have and how much of it is conscious oriented in our life. And a big part of that is because we want that sort of certainty. And so even when people go on vacation, that sort of thing, they have everything planned out. Like, oh, then we're going to go see this. And then every single moment, you're just expecting what's coming next instead of just like being in the moment. People say being in the moment all the time. But it's not necessarily about just like, I'm in the moment. I think part of it is just taking control of your life and knowing that you can just be proactive about, you know, oh, here's this cool thing, let's go over there. And so much of our life does not allow for that. And what it is that
freedom.
And what that is it's freedom of mind, and freedom of mind is agency, and even being able to just like take control of, hey, and that's part of what that paradigm shift can do, is that you realize, oh my God, I can just go and see all the stuff around me that I didn't even know was there. And then that opens up how can I change my life in other various ways? You know, how can I take control of this thing that I might not be so happy about, you know?
I think that's the key component right there, is the agency, that it's not gonna have an effect on you, really. I'm guessing much more dulled effect if it's all planned out. You know, you look up a nice place to go, you look up a hotel, you know, you view all the pictures. Oh, should we go to this place or this place? You know, this place has this cool feature, this place has this cool feature, and then you drive and you go see it. You know, and that's called relaxing, and that's called, you know, going and experiencing something new. But if you have that freedom, if you have that, you're going out and you don't know what you're going to see, you know, I think that's the key component.
And a lot of it is that people are trying to give you that experience. If you think about amusement parks, or when you go to those sorts of places, or even like a trail for hiking and that sort of stuff, it is supposed to give you the experience of exploring, but it's still in a contrived way of like everything's mapped out for you, and there's signs and there's maps and there's directions and that sort of thing. And so because people want to have the experience of adventure without having the risks and the uncertainty associated with it. Right. And that's part of what I think is difficult about today's world, is that you have so many things that we've already discovered. You know, that's kind of like the invention of just being able to write things down, meant that if somebody learned something once, then other people don't have to learn it for the first time again from their own experience, right? They can hear about it from somebody else. And that is like, that's an incredible invention right there.
Yeah.
But that means that, okay,
and
pretty much
it
all
saved a lot of lives.
Yeah, and pretty much all of the world is discovered, and pretty, like, it's so hard to be at a leading expert, and it feels like we look up to leading experts, and that's something where, that's a recent thing. And if you think about the span of, humanity and what we went through throughout all of history, is that, there were still a lot of things that you discovered for yourself for the first time, and, you were able to say, hey, look, we haven't explored this part of the world, and for you and your own experience and the people around you. And that was something that I think really helped to ground people in terms of just like, the world is bigger than what I know, and my own, who I am and what I'm capable of is bigger than what I know. And part of it is also,
that's the main thing, is expanding your perception and seeing something that's actually new,
and knowing that you can control that. Because part of it is that if you have everything reduced down to sort of conscious perspective, you're not even aware of how mysterious the sort of subconscious aspect of our life and our perception is. And I think that's really important, because I think that we think of these experiences in a way that's so reductive, and in terms of like, you're gonna have fun with your family, and new rides and new like experiences. And it's something that does not capture what these things do to your mind, because because it's really hard to explain, like, the true sorts of paradigm shifts and things that can happen with adventure. There's a reason why it's so hard to seek out and to understand. It's because it's
outside of your perception.
Yeah, it's outside of it's outside of something that you can really clearly articulate, because having something happen, and that's part of what I think is really damaging about how as we've kind of had this more scientific progression and more rational way of viewing the world, we've viewed it in a way that's so reductive that takes away that element of adventure. Because if it's what does taking a new route on the trail does? It lowers your rate of Alzheimer's. That's so reductive in terms of the experience, right? It's so prescription based, and so like just analyzing it from the outside. Here's the objective, like, we measured the brain waves of people who had a new experience. It's like, but that doesn't tell you what that experience really did for them.
No, it
that doesn't tell you the experience, and that's because it's really hard to tell those experiences. But it's something that I think is intrinsic to what makes human life meaningful, and it's not something we understand very well. Everyone listens. It's like music is such an important part of people's lives, and it's like, we don't understand why. It's so confusing. You have all these different sounds, and why does that make us feel certain things and make the world feel more magical when you're listening to a song versus without it? You're like going on a walk, you take your earbuds out without the music, put them back in, and it's like you're in a whole new world, right?
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, and I think it's something that cannot be viewed through the lens of the way that we've been trying to explain these things.
Numbers.
And I think that part of what the scientific conscious lens has brought us is incredible discovery. And yes, we understand so much more than what we did before.
And we're not worried about dying as much.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think we're also living so much less, because we don't understand, because there's a mystery, and there's like almost like a magical component that is something that, people tend to not like that word. And the reason why is because it's uncertain and it's confusing, and we don't understand it very well. But it's also, I think, incredibly important for us to open ourselves up to and allow into our lives,
and try to seek that that uncertainty, because it's actually, it's so important. Like, it made life feel so much more interesting if you realize there's things out there that you don't see, and it's hard to, like, that doesn't capture it. You need to see you need to experience that, finding something new, without just going through the step by step that everyone else before you has been going through, without going on the it's not going to have the same effect if you just go on that amusement park ride. That's, you can, you sit down in the chair and the seats dented down from the hundreds of people that sat in the same chair and did the same thing. And I think there are a lot of ways to actually go and seek that. I think one thing is just, it's amazing that we have all of these documented things because you can go explore. The reason why I was actually really inspired to go out on my bike is because one of my favorite YouTubers, she did a lot of things on cycling and going out and like exploring and having that adventure. So go and seek that.
I think part of it is that people do say do new things, and it's like, people will go and they'll like go skiing for the first time and they'll go biking for the first time, that sort of thing. But I think it is really about the mindset, and it is really about understanding what this can do for you in terms of allowing you to explore the things that our ancestors always explored, which was, people had these transformative experiences that came from just being on the edge of their own perception, being on the edge of uncertainty and what you know and what you don't know and what's out there, and that's scary, and we hide from it. And because we hide from it, we think we just kind of hide in this comfort that is really, really damaging if you stay in it for too long. And when it came to that bike ride, the thing that was so magical about it is we didn't really know anything about biking. We didn't know where we were going, and we didn't
know what we were gonna see.
We didn't know what we were doing, and that's like, that's scary.
Something that's like the exact same kind of experience that had the exact same kind of effect. We went to a giant ski resort and we got lost.
And we didn't know how to ski.
And our parents were with us, and we didn't know how to ski. And it was terrifying, but it was awesome. It was amazing.
And we don't put ourselves in those situations because we can avoid it. But it's like, we shouldn't keep avoiding it, because then we're not going to know what's out there. What is life about? Because life is about way more than just whatever it is that we can measure, whatever it is that's in front of us. It's about being terrified sometimes. It's about surprising yourself sometimes. It's about experiencing the world around us in a way that's not about analyzing it and mapping it out ahead of time.